Good morning, Canada, and welcome to the weekend edition of Your Morning. I'm Lindsey Deluce.
That's totally true, and I'm Teddy Wilson. Hello.
Teddy, great to have you. I'm Kelsey McEwen.
I thought you were going to call him Ted.
Ted, you can call me Ted.
Ted or Edward.
Yeah.
Well, we do have a lot of great conversations coming up, including one with Lauren Christie about why it's still a smart idea to use a travel agent. Yeah. I know you travel a lot, Teddy. Do you use a travel agent?
You know what? I used to all the time, and I haven't lately, but I followed on the show you two talking about it with Anne-Marie. She's a big advocate of them, and I know it helped her recently on her trip to Hong Kong when she had some changes, so I got to get back into using one.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's the plan. We're also taking a deep dive into the use of caffeine pouches for teens and younger Canadians and just what the risks around that could be.
Also coming up this morning was Anne-Marie's interview with the CEO of Food Banks Canada about food insecurity on the rise and a call to action. Here's that conversation.
Poverty and food insecurity are rising across Canada at an alarming rate. Here's some numbers for that. The latest report by Food Banks Canada shows food insecurity has risen by nearly 40% in the last 2 years. 40%. But despite those findings, this new report shows that new social programs might be showing the first glimmer of signs of hope. For a closer look at this latest report, I'm joined by Kirsten Beardsley, CEO of Food Banks Canada. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning.
Food insecurity, we know, is usually the outer layer of economic struggles. What do Canadians typically, what are they dealing with inside a home that's experiencing food insecurity? What aren't we seeing?
Well, food insecurity in Canada tends to be a quiet problem, right? So we aren't hearing from folks who go to the food bank. They're not telling generally their neighbors and friends that that's part of their lives. But the experience is having to make impossible choices. A lot of parents not eating themselves so that they can give their kids a square meal. A lot of seniors stretching that food for too many days. One piece of bread. It's just people who are deciding, do I pay my rent this month or do I make sure there's nutritious food on the table for myself and my family? So it's a lot of stress, a lot of worry, and a lot of effect to all of us in Canada.
You know, we've been on this show, we follow news quite closely, and we've been talking about affordability crisis. We've been talking about unemployment increasing. There's an affordability gap. Are all of these things converging into the numbers that, you know, you're sharing with us?
That's exactly it. So we've seen inflation on the essentials like rent and food grow greater than 25%. Unfortunately, wages, and particularly wages for low-income folks, have not kept pace. So what we're seeing is folks in the lowest income quintile spending more than 50% of their entire income on housing alone, which means they're not financially resilient. So as we see the unemployment rate tick up, we're very concerned that folks won't be able to weather even more financial hardship.
Yeah, and when we talk about housing, which you do in this report, it's a broader issue of it's not just not having a place to live. It's also not being able to eat, or as you're talking about, when you're making choices between food or medicine. We mentioned a few demographics, young families, seniors, but which demographic is experiencing the highest rise in food insecurity right now?
So we're concerned across the board. There isn't a community that is untouched. What I'm most concerned about when I look at the data in this report is the youth unemployment rate. So we're not setting up young folks for success. We're talking a lot these days about building a strong Canada for the future. But when you've got so many young people who are struggling to make ends meet, I think that is concerning, should be concerning for all of us in Canada, because that's our future, and they really are struggling.
Well, and something else is that this report highlights is this is not specific to one province. This is every province and territory in this country. How much of a dent have programs, social programs like pharmacare or dental care, made in addressing the issue of food insecurity?
Yeah, so while the data isn't great, and we're hopeful that it shifts and moves in the right direction, what we are seeing is some hope around the social programs. So things like the Canada Disability Benefit, the school food program, like you said, dental care and pharmacare are starting to make some progress. And so we need to see that kind of investment continue. We know we're heading into a federal budget. We need to make sure that the voices of low-income Canadians, the voices of folks who use food banks, and the data that we're seeing as the food bank sector across Canada is part of those conversations so that we can build a strong future. So there is some hope. There are some good policies here. Let's make sure that they don't end.
Social programs need funding, and the Prime Minister is expected to release a budget this fall in October. which policies would significantly reduce food insecurity and the problems that extend from that, what we've spoken about, Kristen?
Yeah, so we're looking at hoping the federal government sets a target to reduce food insecurity by 50% by 2030, making a commitment to reverse this trend that we're seeing, and then putting in place policies to track against that target. The big one that we're pushing right now is EI reform. As we look, as I said, to youth unemployment, to upticks in unemployment, we need a social safety net so that folks, when they lose their job, there are supports available so they don't fall further into poverty, but can get back on their feet and back into the labor market as quickly as possible.
Our Canadian food banks are almost like the canary in the coal mine. When the numbers go up there, we know, and it's a good reminder to people that all of these programs are all links on the same chain. You're talking about unemployment, when you're talking about housing, when you're talking about increase of living, it all is part of the same chain, and it ends up in our food bank usage. Kristen Beardsley, CEO of Food Banks Canada, thanks for your time today.
Thank you.
Specialist and pediatrician, thanks for joining us this morning.
Thanks for having me, Anne-Marie.
Coming up.
I'm a mint guy, so I got these spearmints and I've had them for a while. But this lemon cherry, oh my God, look at this.
Have you heard of caffeine pouches? They are growing in popularity because, of course, of social media. So we're going to learn a little bit more about them after the break.
Caffeine pouches, not nicotine, but caffeine pouches, are small flavored packs that are placed between the mouth and the cheek, and they are gaining popularity on social media, especially with teens and young people.
I'm a mint guy, so I got these spearmints and I've had them for a while. But this lemon cherry, oh my God, look at this. Oh, it's so good. It's a nootropic.
So this is just one of thousands of videos that are on social media right now. They work by quickly releasing concentrated amounts of caffeine directly into the bloodstream through the membranes in the mouth because the tissue is thinner there. And while they aren't authorized for sale here in Canada, products can easily be found online. So here to walk us through the risks of using caffeine pouches is Dr. Jay Saala Guse. He's the Director of Sports Cardiology with Mass General Brigham in Boston. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me, Anne-Marie.
So these pouches, and you've heard us say, they're not legally for sale here in Canada, but they are marketed towards teens and young people. What are your concerns with them?
Yeah, because they're flavored, I think young people really like them. I think you got to know how you respond to caffeine. They're not well studied, and they give you a little hit of caffeine rapidly into the bloodstream. So when I think about concerns, I usually think about what happens when that individual has caffeine. A lot of people know if they have a gastrointestinal side effect, promotility effects. People could get insomnia, jitteriness, anxiety. And then as a cardiologist, I oftentimes focus on two specific effects. Some people will have abnormal heart rhythms or skipped heartbeats, we call arrhythmias. Mm-hmm. And then other people might have a tendency to high blood pressure. It's a stimulant, so it may raise your blood pressure. And so those are the dominant concerns I think about in folks who are taking caffeine, particularly in alternative forms.
Valid concerns, and coming from a cardiologist. So you talk about a hit of caffeine. I mean, I have a hit of caffeine in this cup right now. Let's lay out for everybody the difference between using one of those pouches, drinking a cup of coffee, or taking in an energy drink, which we know are also very popular with young people.
Right. The short-term effects is just that it might happen. You might feel the effects a little bit faster because it's absorbed orally. You don't have to wait for it to go through your gastrointestinal tract before you start to absorb it. But fundamentally, the effects are fairly similar and they're dose dependent. The higher the dose that you have, the more likely you are to have an adverse or side effect. But the larger the dose, also, the more of the benefits you might feel, that neurocognitive boost, that greater attention span. And this is why most people are looking into it. They're trying to stay up later or have a little bit of a stimulant effect.
How do they compare, though, to a cup of coffee? I mean, in high school, for example, if I was cramming for something, I would make a pot of strong black coffee and bang through that for the night. So how much more risk is there in a pouch versus drinking a cup of coffee or two?
Yeah, I think the risk we don't really know, but I think what's important to know is that, generally speaking, we say you start to have more adverse effects from caffeine when you hit over 400 milligrams.
Okay.
A cola drink has about 30. A 12-ounce cup of brewed coffee you see there is like 200 milligrams. And the question is, how many are you having and how fast are you having them? And importantly, what are you using them with and what are you using them for? But fundamentally, the effects of caffeine are oftentimes, well studied. It's an ancient drug, and they're dose dependent, and they depend in part on how you metabolize caffeine personally and individually.
Okay, so if I'm a parent and, I see, again, they're not for sale here in Canada. Health Canada is reviewing them right now, but they're not for sale in Canada, but you see them show up. And your kid wants to say to you, well, you drink coffee, this is no different. What's the response there?
Yeah, I'll say, coffee is well studied. We know what it is. I probably had my cup of coffee this morning. Coffee, well known. There's I don't know, Tim Hortons or Dunkin' on every corner. But what I would say when you're a parent talking to your kid, and I have 3, there's probably 4 things I would really ask them and try to interrogate. First is, what is if they've had caffeine before, what's their prior response? Are you wired to a regular Coca-Cola? Then a rapid hit of caffeine may not quite be for you. If you want to also, I think the second thing, you want to also know your kids' medications. If they're on psychiatric medications in particular, sometimes that modifies, caffeine might modify how they're metabolized. And so you want to know what conditions they have and if they're on medications.
What about stimulants like ADHD meds? Do they interact with those?
They can boost those effects. They can make you a little bit more anxious. And that's with or without those stimulant medications. And so you're having a compound stimulant effect there if you have both caffeine, particularly a rapid hit, with your ADHD medication. But for most people, they know how they feel with caffeine. And so for most people, it's probably okay. It's probably safe. I think the third thing I always want people to know about is, it's common, at least we're seeing in kids, co-injections of other things. Some of them are just purely caffeine, but some people will also sort of couple it with something like nicotine or THC. And so you want to know if co-ingestions are happening. Finally, you want to just know why your kids are taking it. Are they taking it because they're having issues with inattention? Is there an underlying medical condition that they might have that needs further exploration?
Dr. Sa'a Laguse, Director of Sports Cardiology with Mass General Brigham in Boston. Great to have you on this as Health Canada is reviewing them right now. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you for having me.
Up to 500,000 Air Canada customers had their flights canceled after the recent strike in August. People were stranded. We know that. Many people had to pay extra money to get home. But there were some Canadians who had an advocate in their corner. Who was that advocate? That was a travel agent. So it got us wondering, in 2025, are you using a travel agent? Should you be using a travel agent? Travel journalist Lauren Christie is here to walk us through. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Before the internet, I think back to my childhood, and that was the thing. If you were planning a vacation, if you were going on a trip, you hired a travel agent to do all that. Then the internet hit, and then we start to do it ourselves.
Right.
So what does the role of a travel agent look like today?
Well, it's very different. As you said, back then it was very transactional. It was like going to the grocery store or getting a movie ticket, check, move on. There are much more consultants now, and in fact, I'm trying to train myself to use the word travel consultant because right now it's much more of a process of learning about you, working with you, and all of that. So very different.
What are the benefits of using a travel consultant or agent?
Well, some of them seem obvious, but expertise. I think you talked about it earlier on the show. These are people, this is their day in, day out job. I think you used the analogy of a mortgage broker.
Totally.
Why would you not use a travel agent? But even more than that, over the last, I'd say 5 to 10 years, you've seen even travel agents, consultants become more experts in certain things, like whether it's cruises, luxury travel, or destinations. The agent I used for years, I don't use him anymore because he went from just being Agent Carl to Tahiti by Carl. And now he only does Tahiti, but he's great at Tahiti and knows everything about Tahiti. Advocacy, which you mentioned, is also a huge piece about why travel consultants are there to fight for you. They have relationships with suppliers that consumers don't, and so they have access to information and updates, like the Air Canada one, for example. I think that their mantra was reroute, rebook, resolve. That was what they were doing for all their agents and all their clients. And so while other people couldn't even get through, they were working for that. And financial protection is another one I think is really important that people don't realize, particularly if you work with a travel agent based in Ontario, Quebec, or BC. They're actually licensed and regulated. And so what that means is there's actually consumer protection funds that give additional protection to folks if they need it. Group travel. If you're going around with a big group, if you have a complex itinerary, whether it's a wedding or a reunion, people flying in from different areas and different things, coordinating all those logistics. Again, earlier on the show, you're saying it's all there in front of you. How do you put it all together? And then last but not least, if you're thinking, well, AI can do all that. They can, but you've got to remember AI does not have a heart.
Right.
They don't actually, AI does not care
Wait,
about
what?
you.
They don't?
They don't. They don't care about you. I hate to tell you. Yeah, they're not they. It doesn't care about you. So.
Okay, so one of the big barriers I think people have are like, well, I'm already paying X amount for my vacation. I don't want to pay another, you know, whatever it is. So, but there is some confusion around this for people. How do travel agents get paid?
Well, it is a little bit of a mix, I have to admit, and it varies. I mean, there's a mix of commission, so things like a hotel will pay commission to agents, depending. But there's also a service fee that they tend to put on there, and that service fee can be anywhere from $50 to $200, depending on the complexity. Generally, that's what it is. But think about it. You know, if you're doing a complex itinerary, they're giving you dining recommendations, making restaurant reservations, shopping suggestions, itineraries of what to see and what to do and where to go. They're not getting commissions on all of those suggestions. So they do need to get paid. But again, the analogy of the mortgage broker, I think, is good. I mean, you just decide, is it worth it to you to not spend your time and to have that peace of mind and to have the protection?
So it's not necessarily a percentage of what you're going to be paying they get. It's like a standard like rate service fee. Okay, that's good to know. Are there any perks? I'm guessing there are. You kind of alluded to this.
Yeah.
Do they get better rates at certain places?
They do. You know, I mentioned the thing about group. You know, you could get discounts on your group if they are part of a consortium and have that high volume buying power. They can sometimes get things like upgrades to rooms, shipboard credits if you're on a cruise. I guess the main thing of it is think about this. You can't VIP yourself, but an agent can VIP you.
Whoa. There's a line for you.
If
you want to start using a travel agent, where should I look?
You know, there's lots of places to look. Like I mentioned, those consortiums are host agencies. A lot of them, there's one called the Travel Leaders. They actually have an agent profiler, so you can go online and search for what you need in terms of maybe a destination or a niche, as I talked about. The Travel Agent Next Door, if you want to support Canadian, has over 1,400 Canadian agents on there. Virtuoso is one that specializes particularly in luxury travel. It's global agents, but again, you can search for agents on there. And then Journey.com is a fairly new one, but it's all those agents on there are vetted, and there's about 40 Canadians, and they're very good on cruise if you want to go to a Journey.
Which people love.
Yeah.
We love when you stop by, Lauren. Great to see you. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Next up, Canadian country music star Dallas Smith on making his acting debut.
The great Ronan Garrett.
It's been a while.
Yeah, it's actually been 9 years.
Famous rock star ruins his career, goes ghost, and years later returns to his hometown to pick up the pieces.
The great Ronan Garrett.
It's been a while.
Yeah, it's actually been 9 years.
You can stay here until you find your old place. I heard you were back in town.
Just wanted to come here and tell you that I'm sorry.
Making music.
You may recognize the actor in this clip. That's country musician Dallas Smith, who's taking his talents to the big screen in the movie Souls Road. And Dallas joins me in studio this morning to tell us all about it. Great to have you.
Good to be here.
Okay, so this is your first acting role.
Yeah.
So what has that transition been like for you to go from the stage and then onto the screen?
I'd done a few music videos in my past, so I was surprised at how comfortable I was in that environment with the cameras everywhere. But remembering all the lines was the biggest challenge. Sometimes I run a teleprompter at some of the shows, so no teleprompter on set.
So what was your process to remember that all?
Oh, they were long days. So I get back to the place I was staying at, and I would just run the lines in my head. I'd leave them on when I was sleeping, and I was showering. I'd have them cranked in the bathroom. You know, just every moment I possibly could, I would just have them on. Yeah.
Did you find by doing that you knew everybody's lines then?
No.
No.
I was just worried about my own. Yeah.
That's fair. I always think because the stage, where like when you're up there performing, it's got to be so big. You've got to reach every single person from the front row to the back, and then TV and film is such an intimate experience that like even the slightest change of your face, the camera picks up. So did you find that was different?
Yes. The shows, it just kind of happens, and it's just, you know, you get the occasional Instagram post from a distance, nothing too close up. But rewatching the movie, I was picking up on little things. I could tell what was not in, like, it was shot in sequential order, so I could tell. Not in sequential order, so I could tell which ones I was new at, which ones I had experienced at already, but I could tell on my face which ones I was nervous at and where I was comfortable.
Well, listen, what you see, we do not see.
Yeah, good.
Watching it at all. You're a musician, obviously. Mm-hmm. The character in the film is also a musician.
Yeah.
So was there any part that you related to, like in terms of career?
Honestly, there was some parallels, because I had, in my early 20s, we had that song Wasting My Time in the old band I was in with Default, and we had a lot of success at first, and then things kind of pulled back after like the third or fourth record. So there was some parallels that I could pull from, and nothing too drastic like was in the movie, but I had a little bit of experience with some of that. Yeah.
Yeah, so I wanted to ask you, because like obviously Default, I think so many of us know Wasting My Time.
Yeah.
And you posted on your Instagram that it had been redone.
Oh no.
So let's share, enjoy.
All the timing's all wrong on it. Like...
What you're listening to is not the default version. No, this is the Kids Bop version. The comments on this are pretty funny. Some people saying, whoa, I think you've made it now that Kids Bop has redone your song.
Some of the Kids Bops are actually pretty good. It sounded like a drunk Sesame Street character got his hands on that one. It's pretty bad.
Oh, man. So people know you from Default. I know you as a country music artist. I'm a big country music fan growing up in Alberta. And you are actually going on tour.
Yeah.
You're going to be going right across the country starting in October.
Yes.
So what's that like to be on the road?
Well, this is going to be a 52-date tour, so it's one of the longest ones I've ever been on. Yeah, it's going to be me taking the show. Instead of people from smaller towns coming to the bigger festivals, we're going to hit up every small town we possibly can across. So we got 52 dates, playing cities that I've never played before. So I'm excited to see a lot of the country that I haven't seen. I'm a proud Canadian, so it's going to be exciting to visit all those places.
That must be cool for you, but not only for you, but also for the people in these communities where you don't necessarily get every star coming to you.
Yeah, I hope it's going to be a lot of fun. We're modeling this tour off of the MTV Unplugged series, like in the early, mid-90s. So it's going to be full band, but stripped down, hearing stuff a lot more clear. I'll be talking about I've talked about my transition from the rock band to country, and how that was for me, but I've never really talked about what it was like a kid in high school to come out and then, pretty shy guy, introvert, to all of a sudden you're traveling to different countries and continents and people are singing the song back to you. It was a pretty bizarre journey.
I bet.
Yeah, the good, bad, and the ugly, yeah.
Well, listen, I'm excited for it. I'm excited for the people who get to go to your shows, and I'm thankful to talk to you today.
Yeah, nice to talk to you.
Next week on Your Morning, Chris Hadfield on his new novel, Final Orbit.
Good morning, Canada, and welcome to Your Morning, the weekend edition. I'm Lindsey Deluce.
I love a good weekend. I'm Teddy Wilson.
And I'm Kelsey McEwen. Thanks for starting your day off with us.
Oh, we have such great stuff this half hour, including Anne-Marie's conversation with author Dan Brown. So he talks about why he changed his mind on what happens to us after we die, after doing the research for his new book. It's really, really fascinating.
Yeah, it's a fascinating topic. And you know who else Anne-Marie sat down with recently? Get this, some turtles. Her conversation with the Turtle Guardians, all about Canada's turtle population and how to care for them, is coming up. It's great.
Yeah, it's a great conversation. Also ahead this morning, we are getting into fall season with pumpkin recipes. Coming up this half hour, Lindsey was also joined by gardening expert Owen Reeves, who shared his tips for fall gardening. Let's watch.
The birds are chirping. We often think of spring as the best time of year to get your garden in order, but prepping your garden in the fall is just as important. Gardening expert Owen Reeves is here with tips on what we should be doing basically right now.
That's right.
To make sure we have a great spring. Happy fall. Nice to see you.
You too.
So I have to say, one of the things Kelsey's been talking a lot about on the show is that, it is still pretty warm across the country, a little bit unusual for this time of year in the middle of September. So are you doing anything differently this year as a result of that?
Not so much, but what it's doing is it's giving us a bit of a longer window to do some of those fall tasks before it's like ugly weather. It's not so nice to be working in the garden when it's like 5 degrees and drizzly, but if it's 15 and sunny, that's awesome. And there's lots we can do in the fall, and it's making that window a little bit bigger for when we can do that work.
So speaking of work, let's talk about the lawn firstly. Let's start there. What can we do now to help us in the spring?
Yeah, and this is actually the most important time of the year for lawn care in general. We have the right combination of weather, especially this year where we've got some warm days. We still get a little bit of rain, although it has been a little dry, and so great for growing grass. So the couple of things that you really want to do in the fall are overseeding And to me, this is the most important task you do in your lawn over the course of the year, apart from mowing. And when we're overseeding, we always want to use a lawn soil, or if you can get a really fine compost where you live. And what that's going to do is, this is our seed bed. This is where the grass seed is going to germinate and grow. So it's got a lot of organic matter. It's nice and light, so it'll fit in with the existing grass and won't smother it. And then, we're just going to, sprinkle our seed onto the grass like that. What I like to do afterwards, soil first, seed second. This is a common mistake. People do the reverse. You want the grass seed close to the top, and then you can use a rake to kind of get the seed to settle, but you want it to be right close to the surface like that. This is also going to help your existing grass in addition to growing new grass.
How often are you watering that?
It depends. The rain is the best, so if you can just let it rain, but if we have 2 or 3 days without rain, you want to give it a light watering in the morning. That would be great. And if we have a long period without rain, a little bit every day is good.
All right, let's talk bulbs.
Yeah.
Fall is the time we want to plant bulbs.
That's right. This is the ones that are blooming in the spring and the early part of the summer. And when we talk about bulbs, I think people kind of go to tulips as the default, and I do love them. I do use them a lot. The trick with tulips is that animals also love them.
Yes.
And the squirrels will dig them up. If you're in an area with deer, they'll dig them up and eat them. So if you're having trouble with that, what I do, and in fact I plant these way more than tulips, are daffodils and alliums, both of which are actually poisonous to animals, but they're smart, so they won't eat them. So animals will never touch either of these 2 plants, but they will love to eat your tulips. Daffodils bloom a little bit earlier in the spring than most tulips, and alliums are actually kind of a little bit towards the summer. Both of these are really spectacular, and alliums in particular are great drought-tolerant plants, and they also are amazing for attracting pollinators into the garden.
Oh, there's such pro tips. Speaking of pro tips, I don't know if you know this, but I once planted 100 tulip bulbs upside down. And I didn't know that until the spring, and they were coming out.
Pointy side up.
See, there you go. That's your other pro tip for today. Okay, you also recommend dividing perennials. How come?
Yeah, this is the key time for doing
Let's
that.
switch.
So we'll do a little switch here. And what we're doing with dividing perennials for a lot of things, especially plants like grasses, this is the key step for keeping them healthy and also controlling how big they get. Now, obviously, it wouldn't be like this if it's coming out of your garden, but what we're doing is we're literally pulling them out of the ground. You want to try and get as much of the roots as you can as possible, and then we're going to literally cut this in half. And so I have a tool. This is called a garden knife.
That's not a knife. This is a knife.
Right? Or a hori-hori knife. And so what we're using this for is to actually saw the roots of the plant in half. So it seems crazy. It seems like you're going to hurt it, but this is actually going to help in the long term. And this is a really handy tool because it has that serration. So even for plants that have really tough roots, things like hostas can have tough roots, or irises if you're dividing those. And then we're literally going to just pull them apart and turn one plant into 2, or if it's a big thing, even 3. And then we're going to replant that in basically the exact same position while I make a huge mess in the studio. And
that's part of the fun, though.
Right?
I didn't know this.
So this is going to go right back where you dug it out, and then you'll have another plant that you can put in another part of the garden or give to a friend. They transplant really well. And then that will help keep the plant vigorous, and it's a really important step for grasses, also things like daylilies. And for plants like hostas, which can get kind of big, this is how we control the spread. We literally dig them up, cut them in half, and replant, and then that way the plant doesn't get too big for the space.
That is amazing and cost effective.
Yeah, exactly.
I would say too.
This is how you make friends who garden. You dig your stuff up and share.
Oh, that's wild. That is a tip I did not know. It's always good to have you here, Owen. Thanks for stopping by.
Thank you so much.
You will know him best as the man behind the Da Vinci Code and Angels and Demons. Dan Brown has sold more than 250 million books, and now he's back with a long-awaited new one. It is called The Secret of Secrets. It has beloved protagonist Robert Langdon back, doing what he does best, solving mysteries, decoding ancient mythology, and taking readers on the run with him. Dan Brown is in our studio. Good morning. Great to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
Listen, our makeup artist Lucas came out and said, when I worked at a bookstore, I sold a lot of his books. 250 million.
Kind of hard to believe.
Yeah, even for you, which I find amazing. Listen, you brought Robert Langdon back. Fans will be happy to hear that. Tom Hanks, if you need the reminder, played him in the films. He's back again in the pages of this book. So what is he up to this time?
You know, if you've read my books, which I guess you have, you know that in every novel he very conveniently meets a beautiful, brilliant woman who happens to have the exact skill set he requires. I wanted to do something different in this book, and Robert Langdon is very much in love in this book. So he's actually in a relationship. He is in Prague, solving an entirely different kind of mystery that sort of circulates around the topic of human consciousness.
So how much time do you spend traveling to the countries that you're writing about?
It depends what I'm writing about. I learned the hard way with Deception Point, do not set a book in the Arctic Circle.
Okay.
So now I set in exotic locations that I actually want to travel to. And I spent a lot of time in Prague. I think it's perhaps the most beautiful city in the world, and certainly a city filled with mysticism.
Well, and we get that from your writing, that you know it and you know it intimately. It is no secret you like to tackle big topics in your books, and this one is following suit. But this time, you hit on something not only big, but a bit broad, and that is human consciousness and what happens when we die. Why this topic?
Well, you know, for a whole bunch of reasons. I like to write about big topics, and there is no bigger topic than human consciousness. It is the lens through which we see the world. We react with other people through our consciousness. It's how we perceive reality. And simultaneously, right as I started thinking about writing about this topic, my mother passed away about 8 years ago, and I found myself asking that question that we all ask. What does happen when we die? And if you had asked me 8 years ago, I would have said the answer is nothing. Full stop, total blackness, the end. I just spent 8 years researching this topic, talking to noetic scientists, physicists, philosophers, and a lot of people who've had near-death experiences. And I've come out the other side with a totally different mindset on death. And I should say, I did not have a near-death experience. I've had no mystical or religious experiences. This is based purely on the science that is happening right now in the world of noetics and physics that is bubbling to the surface. It's pretty exciting.
Can you give me one example of something that maybe triggered you to perhaps be open to changing your mind on how you used to believe about things?
Sure. Well, I won't bore you with all the science, but this book is absolutely an adventure and a thriller, but it involves some of the science. For example, we've all talked to people, we've heard these stories of people on operating tables who pass away, are resuscitated 10 or 15 minutes later, and they say, no, I saw the whole thing. I was up on the ceiling, I was sort of looking down, I was watching this, I saw the guy in the green shirt come in and do this, and the doctor says, your eyes were taped shut and there was no brain activity, this is impossible. It happens over and over and over, medically documented. That was really what got me to say maybe something's happening, and then I delved into the world of science that is, to my taste, starting to prove that the human consciousness can actually survive the death of the body.
I cannot wait to read fully how you have incorporated this into the book. Speaking of the book, it is a commitment. You said it clocks in at 200,000 words. You wrote 1 million. You had to parse it down by 800,000. That is a good editor.
My job is to respect the reader's time. So.
Is it true that you based the character of Jonas Falkman on your actual real-life editor, and that is Jason Kaufman?
It is. Jonas Falkman is an anagram of Jason Kaufman. Yeah. And yeah, you know, it's funny. He and I are best friends. We've been doing these books for a long time. He made a cameo in the Da Vinci Code. He made a cameo in the other books. And now readers get to see inside a publishing company how are books purchased, how are they made, how are they kept safe, how are they marketed. One of the threads in The Secret of Secrets is inside my actual publishing company, Penguin Random House. And it's a whole lot of fun.
Okay, but just tell me, when you present 1 million words to your editor, what does he say to you?
Oh, I would never send them all.
Okay.
What that is that for every 5 words I write, I end up with one. I throw out 80% of what I've written. It's the way you get to what's good. It's how you make sure that the story, even at 200,000 words, just flies by. And it's been so gratifying to talk to readers. I talked to somebody in a hotel this morning who had just read it and said, it was so fast. I couldn't believe I read a book that long, that fast. So that always makes me happy.
Oh, I bet it does. Dan Brown, it's great to have you here in studio. Thanks for bringing your book.
Thank you.
A reminder, it is called The Secret of Secrets.
Coming up, it is that time of year. Break out your pumpkin spice because we have 3 delicious pumpkin-inspired recipes.
Down low today because we're going to talk about turtles. Canada is home to several species of both freshwater and sea turtles, all of which are listed as species at risk. Turtle Guardians is an Ontario organization hoping to alleviate that risk. And if you are a fan of Sidebar on this show, you have seen their work before. They aim to protect turtles in Eastern Canada and educate their community on how to help. I am a huge fan of this account and the work that they're doing. And one of the Turtle Guardians, Darian Carpenter, is with us today in studio. Good morning. And you have brought a friend.
Yes, I have Toad here with me this morning.
So he's a snapping turtle. And we're watching him right now. He seems like really sort of agitated.
Yeah.
Tell us what's going on with Toad.
Yeah, well, Toad was found in British Columbia, and that snapping turtles are not native to British Columbia, so that's why he's in our care now.
Okay.
But a TV studio is not his natural habitat and not where he feels comfortable. So we see he does have his mouth open, but since his head is out, he's as comfortable as he can be in this situation.
And his mouth is open and he's looking at me. Like, how far does that neck street? Am I in danger?
You are not in danger.
Okay,
and in fact, I am not in danger either. Just where I'm grabbing the turtle, if he was to snap, I am not at risk of being snapped right now.
You guys are all about preventing and protecting turtles. So what kind of work are you doing to protect them, especially in Ontario?
Yeah, so at Turtle Guardians, we have a lot of projects on the go. We do research. We research turtle populations in the land between specifically, located in Haliburton. We also teach everyone how to be a turtle guardian. So we teach a lot of volunteers to be first responders on the road. We also have a large incubation project where we excavate turtle eggs, incubate them in our incubators, and then release them. We did about 12,000 hatchlings this year.
Wow.
And just finished releases last week, actually.
It's such a great site for the education you do. I've learned a lot watching it, but also the videos are just a lot of fun.
Yeah.
The one that grabbed my attention, though, is something that people encounter a lot in Ontario, is if you find a snapping turtle, they don't know what to do to move it. They don't want it to be in danger on the road, but they don't want to lose a digit.
Yeah, of course. Well, it is a myth that a snapping turtle can take off a finger.
Okay.
Their bite strength is not that strong or anywhere close to being that strong.
Okay.
It would hurt and maybe break skin, but not at risk of losing a finger. And if you come across a snapping turtle, I am demonstrating it right now. So this is the waitress tray method. So this is maybe the video you might have saw. This is what I'm doing in there. So that's just placing my hand on their lower shell and supporting their body weight. And you can do this with a bigger turtle than Toad. I understand that Toad's a little bit of a smaller snapping turtle you could encounter.
He seems pretty big to me.
He is, yeah, he's still a fair size. He's about 8-10 years old, guesstimating.
Okay.
But you would put your hand on the shelf here.
Should I try this?
You can, yeah, definitely. Go ahead. He's a little bit squirmy. I'll try to calm him down for you again with the butt scratches, but you'll put your hand where I'm butt scratching.
Okay, can I do trace to start with?
Yeah, so you can, you can give him a little
It feels
butt
really
scratch.
rough, like if you forget to put lotion on your knees in the summertime, that's kind of what it feels like in the back. Hi, bud.
Exactly, yeah.
Hi. Okay.
Yeah,
oh, look.
so you...
Look, guys.
Yeah, he's calming right
Look
now.
what I learned from the Turtle Guardians. This is amazing.
Yeah.
And then...
So you would grip this.
Grip this, so he can't go anywhere.
So he can't go anywhere.
And I won't hurt him, right?
Nope, this isn't hurting him.
Okay.
That's okay. See how your hands are at the back? You're not going to get
They
snapped.
move fast.
Oh, yeah. He's a little bit
Listen, should we do some more of the bum rub?
Yeah, we
Toad
can
likes
do
that.
more of the butt scratches for sure. Yeah.
Okay. Tell me about some of the other work you do, because the other turtle that I've sort of grown fond of is the one that you have on your site, and he's got damage to his shell.
Yeah, so we have 18 turtles at our office that we care for full time. And some of them were hit on the road and had injuries that are far too grave to be able to release them back into the wild. So I'm maybe referring to No-Go, the painted turtle.
It's the one that's got the almost like a tire print in its back of his shell.
So that's Jeremiah. So she was hit by a car on the road. Somebody straddled her instead of moving her off the road, and that caused damage to her spine, which has left her back legs paralyzed. So she's unable to walk, so she actually rides around on a skateboard. Unfortunately, Jer is sick right now, so she's in recovery. But yeah, a lot of our turtles back at the office have shell injuries if they were hit by a boat propeller or hit on the road. Those are the two biggest threats to turtles would be road, well, aside from habitat loss, but road and boat mortalities. So that's what we work towards. A lot of our research projects go into road mitigation, so creating eco passages so they can, sorry about that here.
No, you don't have anything to apologize for. He's doing what he needs to do as a turtle.
Exactly.
I need to figure myself out.
No, that's okay.
Darian, you are doing a really great job. You and all the Turtle Guardians. You can follow them on Instagram. They have a fantastic site. Make sure that you check it out. And Toad, you are the star of the show. Thank you so much for coming in today, guys. We really appreciate it.
All right, so you might be familiar with pumpkin spice because of, well, the lattes, but did you know it tastes great in food as well. Here with some of his favorite pumpkin spiced dishes, food writer and cookbook author Dan Clapson. Good morning to you.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
I want to let everybody know you can find these recipes by scanning the QR code that is on your screen right now. It's up at the corner of your screen. Okay, so this is my problem because pumpkin spice I do associate with like a latte, and I'm a more savory person. So you've got some answers for me.
I do. I always feel bad for the pumpkin spice blend because I do feel like people think of these spices like cinnamon, nutmeg, cloves, and they only think sweet. And that's not the case. We have a mix of things here, but I thought we'd start off with a savory dish, which is from my cookbook Prairie, that incorporates these spices into a kind of room temperature chicken and charred cabbage salad.
Looks amazing, and it smells so good in here. Okay, so walk us through.
Okay, so we've cooked off some boneless chicken thighs, roasted some cabbage, and what I'm gonna do now is just chop a bit more of this chicken. And you know, I'm from the prairies, so I grew up in Saskatchewan. Lentils are ever present there. So this is a really hearty main dish sort of salad. So we're gonna add in some green lentils for some added protein.
Do you want help, Dan?
Yeah, that sounds nice.
Because I'm here to help you.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay,
so
lentils?
About like a cup and a half or so. We can eyeball. No wrong answers here.
When we say a cup and a half, we're just gonna keep going.
And lentils are healthy, so let's.
They are.
Yeah. Wait. A little bit more.
Okay.
Yeah, I like that. Great. Looks good to me.
Okay.
I'm gonna add some chicken in here, and these are some fresh herbs there. I have some chives.
I can do this for you.
Yes.
Just a little sprinkle?
Let's add it all in. I like the pop.
Add it all in.
Let's go crazy.
Woo-hoo!
Done. There we go.
Okay, amazing.
And so when we roast the chicken, I actually save the pan drippings and make essentially a warm vinaigrette. So in here, there's some maple syrup, some mustard. You can smell a bit of vinegar.
It smells so good.
And the chicken fat's obviously like a nice little touch. So we can pour this all into here, and then I'll mix it for you. So if you want to pour that.
Okay, great.
And again, this is a great main dish. You could, of course, serve it with, like, you know, a nice fresh salad or something like that on the side, just some greens. And then this is good, warm, cold, next day delicious.
So yeah, would you
Beautiful.
In a bowl? Like, are we serving this in a bowl?
Yeah, we can finish it up there.
Okay.
I might actually just grab these tongs.
Okay.
Perfect.
There you go.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm gonna have to try this.
Yes.
It smells so good.
Yes, you
There's
do.
something about this
Beautiful.
this dish that just brings us into fall, right? It's like into the the cooler nights, the yummy dinners.
And it's that pumpkin spice blend in here. Again, you're getting like a little bit of clove, a little bit of cinnamon, nutmeg. Yeah, absolutely, all spice.
Okay.
Some richness from the chicken fat. It's good.
Chicken thighs.
Yeah,
too, right?
chicken thighs. Yes.
The best.
Yeah.
Oh, I
Beautiful.
love that.
Kind of matches your dress, actually.
It does. It 100% does. This wild pattern I'm wearing. Okay, so there's the savory. Let's talk sweet.
Yeah, so I made a really basic pumpkin spice syrup. And again, that's just taking the spices that you would find in the pumpkin spice ground blend and mixing it with some water and some sugar, bringing it to a simmer, and then just cooling it down. So I decided to make a breakfast yogurt parfait less healthy, basically.
Because you are speaking my language.
I do not like yogurt parfaits.
So what do you do to make it less healthy and more delicious?
Well, we're going to add the pumpkin spice syrup to things, but I also did a half and half mixture of whipping cream and Greek yogurt. So
Oh, that's so smart.
So you still get a little bit of health, a little bit of
So
indulgence.
smart. I just want to try that to see it because I have I'm not a big parfait person, but when you add whipped cream, I think I'm in.
Makes it like lighter and airy too, doesn't it? Yeah. So
that's awesome. Okay, so how do we
Don't
build?
tell your healthy friends, no?
No.
You can build it. You build a parfait however you want, but start with some blueberries. Maybe I'll get you to
That's
pour
really
a little
good.
bit of the simple syrup in there.
Okay, tell me when.
And I'm going to follow you with a bit of this cream mixture.
It's really good, like that mixture.
Yeah.
Who would have thought? Dan thinks. That's
Right?
why you're here. Okay.
I think not always healthy, which is like the best and worst thing about me. But oh no, I made a miss here. Okay. And then I'm just layering it with more blueberries, candied ginger, just for like again, just adding like texture, a little bit of spice. There we go.
This is great, and this is fun for people to build too.
Exactly.
Right?
And these are digestive biscuits, but I mean, you can use whatever cookie
No
or
way.
wafer. Yeah.
I have not had one of those in so long.
Well, today's the day.
Today is the day.
And there we go.
Okay, beautiful. And then you can top it with
Yeah.
whatever berry.
Yeah,
I guess,
exactly.
really,
Yeah,
right?
for sure. I mean, berries are lingering right now, so this might be the last sort of
the last
in-season
hurrah.
berry you can find. But
That's awesome. And you want to wash it down with something. So what do you have for us?
I have a spiced pear smash cocktail. So it's made with vodka and a bit of Amaro. I've muddled the pears in there. Of course, pears are in season right now. A little bit of the pumpkin spice syrup, the same syrup here. And yeah, let's see.
That's a little too good. You know what I mean? This is one of those drinks that you just like slam down because you
Perfect
think it's
9
water.
a.m. cocktail.
Yeah. No, it's not
My
even
favorite.
9 a.m. Dan, always good to see you. Thanks so
thanks for
much.
having me.
Thanks for stopping by.
Monday on your morning, from proper tree care to outdoor faucets and heating systems, we're going to get a fall home maintenance checklist.
That's all for us today on Your Morning Weekend. Don't forget, you can scan these QR codes for the Your Morning newsletter and to listen to more great conversations on Your Morning, the podcast.
Coming up on the show on Monday, we'll take the stress out of your to-do list with our fall maintenance checklist for your home.
Oh, I love a stress reduction story. That's great. On Wednesday, Canadian Olympian Jerome Blake will be in studio. Super cool. Maybe he'll give some tips on running. You and I are what I'd call aspiring runners, but you're an actual runner.
Hardly.
Okay. That's what all runners say, by the way.
No. I do like little spurts of running.
We call that sprinting. It's still running.
Oh, yes.
It's still faster than a walk.
He's a sprinter. We'll talk to him.
Speaking of Canadian icons, on Thursday, Chris Hadfield will tell us more about his new novel called Final Orbit.
And then speaking of icons, you guys know I'm a Swiftie. I'm obviously the icon I'm talking about. No, it's actually Taylor Swift. Her album, Life of a Showgirl, is out on Friday, so we will have iHeartRadio's Ruby Carr with her review. I cannot wait.
All right, bye Canada. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and we will see you on Monday.